All right, good evening. Call the Personnel Committee meeting to order. First item is Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
One thing I just wanted to mention before we get into the agenda, just briefly, keep focus on the agenda items and for a little more efficiency. I know some of us, we always have our cell phones out. Let's just please keep those at bay so we can make our meetings more efficient. So, thank you. I have to say it to myself too. Look, item 2, approval of the October 7th, 2021 committee meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Resignations. I also have an addendum on this. We have 3 resignations here this evening. Deborah Flanders, teacher. Zachary Urutaya, PC technician. And Jennifer Hersom, principal.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Nominations. We do have on our addendum a nomination, 2 nominations. Ms. Randall, assistant principal, and J.V. Campo. I am skipping. Hey, could you give me that next time? Ekatarini is Kathy Randall, assistant principal. Jamie Campo, school social worker.
So moved.
Second.
For discussion purposes, you are not part of the school district until I crucify your name. Mr. Lynch.
That position is for where, the district, or just specifically covering something?
The assistant principal?
No, the social worker.
Social work.
Social workers at the middle school, both of those positions are.
Thank
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. We have our winter coaching nominations, which are item 5. They are listed. I'll let you review, and then I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'll abstain.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Ayes have it. I'm going to go over to the addendum, just moving around. Stipend positions, we have Christian Sturtevant, elementary librarian department head.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Extracurricular nominations, Leslie Marsh, elementary yearbook advisor, and Melissa Arsenal, elementary yearbook advisor.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Item 7, leave of absence.
I think that was just left over from last month, there's no initial there.
Thank you, Chair. 8, 5-year plan. The only thing we talked about is positions down the road that come in as we went. I know we talked at one time, and Karen, you remind me, we did it with the tech department, the restructuring. We talked about at one point going department by department, central office was an item at one time.
Right, I think last year, and so the work that Ms. Allison did and handed off to Ms. Reinhardt. Ms. Reinhardt's going to be here this month with special services, she's going to go through things. But I did want to remind the personnel committee, at least when we reviewed the cut positions that we had done when we were looking at the budget, over the last 10 years, we had lost 28.5 positions. Of those 28.5 positions, 9.5 were special education related. And then we were tasked, Ms. Allison and I, to make some recommendations. Unfortunately, the budget went in the wrong direction for us last year, so those recommendations weren't put forth. But we do still have those recommendations. We do have the verifications, the justifications for those. So when Ms. Reinhardt's here, she's been working in the department now. She's taking a look at those, put a little spin on them herself, and she'll be sharing that at special services.
The other thing was, do you have it was in our packets, the breakdown of vacancies?
Right now, we actually have 50 open positions down from 59 last month. 1 custodian, 4 cook cashiers, several paras unfortunately, an LNA, PC Tech, speech path, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 teaching positions, but some of those are specialized. There's a tech integrator, speech pathologist, psychologist, so there are some of those positions that we're trying to entice earlier this year.
Is there any questions under the 5-year plan and things we're going forward? Superintendent? Okay. Public comment, item 9. Is there, Tabitha, would you like, since you're the only one from the public here, would you like to address the committee?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I'm still learning.
No one else over there?
No, just me. I'm a loner tonight.
Okay. Closing public comment. Item 10, custodial hiring practices.
So this was just really for you to all consider. Mr. Toddy had asked me to ask the board to just think about the possibility of hiring custodians that do not have a high school diploma. So currently in our hiring policy is the minimum standard for a custodial position is a high school diploma or equivalent. He thought, again, we're short-staffed, that might be something to do. You could do it, for a year, like we've done with other things. I'm gonna bring something to you later that was a year ago, but you could say we could try this in a provisionary period, for a year to see how it worked out, and then revisit it. You could say no, because, it's somewhat antithetical sometimes to be in the business of education and say that we're gonna have people in our organization that don't meet the merits of what we're doing. So there's arguments on both sides, obviously, but I don't think he was looking for any action right now, but just for you all to consider it. He's gonna obviously be here in building, you could ask him questions about that, shortly as well.
Mr. Green?
Background checks, criminal record checks, all that still
Still
in
mandatory,
play, everything.
yep.
So basically, they're just asking that if somebody came in with a GED, or not even a GED, nothing.
Yeah, nothing. So
Okay.
right now, we allow diploma or
Okay.
GED, high set, yep.
So basically, it's an education waiver, if you will.
Correct.
Pardon.
I'll get the feel of it, Mr. Nichols.
Is there, as long as you don't lack anything else, I mean, education thing would be nice, is there some way we could work them, like if they take a job, they can start working into their GED, or start working their way towards getting the GED done? Like, a lot of schools, they do, a lot of businesses, you get the position as a master's, but you can be going through a master's class to get there.
Obviously, if someone were to be hired, we were all about trying to afford people opportunities to things. We wouldn't be able to force it, There's Dover Adult Learning that does the high set program, which is the GED now, located here in town. So if someone wanted to do that, they'd be working in the right place in town to find those services and resources, but I don't think we could force them to do it.
I would just be curious before we changed it, what other districts or schools in the area, if they're having the same problem, if they're doing the same thing, because I think we should kind of follow suit a little bit.
I think that.
No, that's it, thank you.
I'm sorry.
So much.
I'm sorry, can't let you know.
That was,
I think the interim position is the ideal. I think that there's a lot of people who made choices early in their life that can impact them later. It doesn't mean they're not good employees. So doing an interim where it has a very strategic framework that gives them the out and us the out is the best way, I think, to do that. I think in the current climate of employment, we really got to be cognizant. We take as many bodies as we can to do the job the right way. They pass the criminal check and they're willing to work, but I think the key there is to build the right framework that really protects them in the long term and us in the long term. It's got to be an interim. If you work and we work, great. That type of thing. That'd be my only caution.
See, I'm with you there, but I think there's a way where they need to show that they're willing to work towards that GED. Just like to work for a sheriff's department, you need to live inside the county. And I know Rock County, if you get hired, you have a year to move inside Rock. If you don't move inside Rock, you won't stay employed. So I think if they show that they're willing to finish their education, let's say they dropped out in the 11th grade, so they got another year and a half maybe to do, showing that they're willing to work towards that, I think that would be good.
I think encouraging them to do that would be great. And maybe even offer them an incentive to do it, but, they're adults who made choices in their lives, and I don't think one should necessarily be tied to the other, but, you know, I think an interim program, I would be in support of.
But do we want those adults that made those decisions?
Because again, Mr. Pappas had his hand up earlier, so.
I was just wondering if are there that many people that we're aware of without a GED or a high school diploma that?
He's had a few.
Okay. I was just curious.
Mr. Queer?
Just out of curiosity, without me having to dig too deep, but what's the starting pay of custodian? I mean, we're talking $12 an hour,
Yeah, $12 to $15 an hour.
you know? I mean, we're not, and I get it, we're not asking for a bachelor's degree either, but, you know, it's definitely a, if we have people that can fit the bill, you know, I don't know that if we can get them in the schools and serve our needs, or they go to McDonald's and serve those needs, I mean, thank you.
With these kids that made those decisions, do we want them around our students, our kids, influencing them on that end, if they're not willing to pursue it, at least get their GED? So that's why I think it's important that they need to show that they're willing to try to get their GED, not just take this job and that's it. I think they need to show that they're willing to prove to get their GED. I think that can be written into their hire.
So a couple things that I just want to point out on this, and anytime you have a position, you can state they have to stand for X number of hours. So I would be a proponent of saying you have to have a GED. I understand that people make choices in their life. You make big boy decisions, you get big boy consequences later in life. This is one of them. You have to have this. And if we're in an education setting, my personal take on this is you have to have or be working towards. And there's a timeline to finish. So that would be my point. I think another issue that and I know budgetary, it's very tight, but our starting salary might be a factor. Where $15 an hour you can serve, or you can mess up my medium black coffee at a coffee establishment. So,
I mean, we have negotiations coming up soon, and I know that will be brought to everyone's attention, but with the custodians, those steps that we used to have are no longer steps, they're ranges, and it's in accordance with the city.
okay.
So they did just move recently, but obviously, so has a lot of things in our culture. So again, you couldn't go to Wendy's 2 years ago and make $14 an hour.
Correct, and that's what we're competing against. Okay, Mr. Watson?
Yeah, it sounds like you're assuming if we get people without high school diplomas, young kids, but I could see somebody from a whole different generation in their 40s, 50s, when, you know, a high school diploma wasn't necessarily needed to get a job, you know, blue collar type of job, working with your hands, and someone like that might be valuable to us, but, you know, maybe they can't even read well, but they could do a good job. So I don't think we should necessarily make that as a requirement.
I mean, I get it all, but I guess the thing is, if Mr. Toddy is the one asking, maybe we invite him to the next personnel committee and ask him for specifics, because we're all kind of making assumptions that it could be older people, or we want to encourage our youth to get a diploma. We don't want to tell a kid drop out of school and then come apply to our district. That would kind of look a little bad in my opinion. And then if they don't have the capacity to read a manual and they make an error or mistake, that could be a liability for us. So I guess for me, there's a lot of questions that we might have, and I would think that Mr. Toddy could come to the next personnel committee and maybe answer some of those questions for us.
Anything else?
No.
Sure. Mr. Lynch, did you?
Oh, no, I just want to make sure you saw it.
Thank you. Mr. Monk?
I hate to see us close the door on a person that's qualified for the position on a technicality. In my career, electrician, you have to have a high school diploma or GED in order to start apprenticeship. I know other parts of the country, that's not the case, and I've met some amazing electricians over the years who are great people who don't have a GED or a high school education. Different parts of the country, things go different. I'd like to think that if someone is qualified, we would be able to work with someone and be able to look at it to not close the door on them. Or maybe if it's interim, maybe if it's work towards something, but I don't wanna just close the door on someone who's obviously qualified over something, you know, don't know what their life went through, why they weren't able to get that type. A lot of different stories out there that we don't know about, we're just assuming a certain, I thought.
One question would be, would it be just nighttime custodian staff, or would it be day custodians as well? You could look at that, if it's a concern with them being around students and sending that message.
Make sure everybody else, so at this point, I think that I do like Mrs. Stokes' plan, or suggestion rather, that maybe Mr. Toddy, Mr. Toddy, can, come to the next meeting, we can review the type of positions, and, maybe he can't, not citing the exact names of the individuals that he's passed up, but some of the experience that we gave passed up, and to Mr. Watson's point, if it's high school plus, or years of experience in a trade, that might be another way. I think it's just the way we word it. I just don't want the wrong message sent across the district, that's all. So if that's something that we can table to the next committee meeting for more information. So,
18, Thursday.
Education.
all right, so with that, is there anything else to discuss on this piece?
There's no background check either, Dave.
Okay. There was another point that Mr. Pusey had that he added to other, that I think that's what we're going to say.
So this time last year, you put forth an interim organizational chart that you see before you here. What we've done is morph a little bit with expertise as we went through an audit. A very important thing to point out is this is all within our current budget, nothing outside of our budget. But what I would look for you to do tonight, and what you'll see here is one of the two job descriptions that we have in the green. So you see green, the one on the left is the one that I just handed out. We would be looking for your support to make this our current model in our CIC department moving forward, instead of the one-year probationary that we put forth last year. And then consider this job description for first reading.
Just take these as sections. Anybody have any questions on the actual job, the department structure? Any feedback from last time? We'll start with-
Shane's holding them all.
Start with Mr. Lynch, please.
There's two green boxes saying new positions. Have we hired those, or are they currently just working?
They would be morphing. So if you remember, one of the things that we talked about when we instituted the new schematic last year was that we had some people that were retiring. So the green positions represent folks that have retired or are in the process of retiring. So those are kind of like, we've mashed together responsibilities and then delegated based on expertise. So like I said, this is all within current budget. And the green is just that we're retuning, that's why you have this here, retuning some job responsibilities within the department.
Any other questions on the structure or job description at this point? Then we'll go, I have Chan here and then I saw.
Mine's quick, new to this, what's a morphing position? I heard you said morphing position.
Morphing, if you want to.
So yeah, so we're redefining job descriptions within the department. So one of the things we did last year is we had an IT audit. One of the things they pointed out is that we didn't have a lot of redundancy. So again, Matt and I are both working. He only does printers and I only do servers. And then he gets hit by a bus. We have nobody to do printers. So we've realigned jobs based on making sure people have redundant responsibilities for training, and then move things around based on expertise.
That was wishful thinking. Mr. Dickinson.
Should always use myself.
Exactly. My question is on the structure itself. Who does program coordinator report to? The two lines going to them, do they report to both? Do they report to one?
Yeah, so they would work back and forth, and really the line should go between myself and I would put Dr. McDonald there as well, because the program coordinator, if you think about our programs, they're all end user facing. So a McGraw-Hill textbook that's digitized, NWE testing that's digital. So again, those are things that we would be doing.
So who would be writing their eval then?
Both of those folks.
So together they write the
Yes,
eval?
yep.
Okay.
Yep. we actually have quite a few positions that have two.
Yeah.
A lot of folks in special education report to the Director of Student Services, but are also a teacher in that building. So the principal and the Director of Student Services do a lot of special education evaluations because they live in two worlds.
Yeah, it's confusing me to have two different lines, two different supervisors. I'm more used to one supervisor.
Mr. Travis?
Just look at the two positions, the systems technician has maintenance of system software. How does that differ from
So educational software.
district technology, where is it? District software system?
So this is more about educational software on the program side, and then the other one is more about like the systems, like the programs that run on our servers, like the programs for our digital video systems and other things like that. More the infrastructure software.
Okay.
You're operating,
Server-based, yeah, operating systems, yeah.
for example.
Client-based things, mostly.
And a lot of other technical terms that I couldn't repeat, but I heard it before. Any other? Mrs. Harrington?
Are any of these positions taking over as the web developer to update websites?
So that's what's been morphed, because with Aptigee, so Aptigee becomes more of a front-facing product with principals and users in each school being able to modify. That was a big ask of our admin team, because in the past, the website was locked down and only one person could change it. And with 13 different websites to manage, it was kind of onerous, so we changed that. And that's as we've realigned things.
Okay.
So get to this point that we'd be looking if there's a motion to send this job description for first reading.
I don't think you have to make a motion for a first.
This committee does,
Okay.
for it to go to the board for first
My
reading.
fault. Yes.
It wouldn't be adoption.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Did you have a question? No. Okay. All in favor, yes.
I just had to ask one more question, I apologize. Mr. Pusey, if you could, we have PC technician down here and then system technician.
Yeah, that was a typo. Yep.
Okay, so they're the same.
He's saying, yep,
Okay.
yep,
I just
sorry.
want to see if this was something we're changing their title to, or, okay, got it, thank you.
Any questions? Discussion rather towards a motion regarding the job description. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Oh, man, thank you for the waive. All right, now we have a modified organizational chart for our tech department. Looking for a motion, I'll make a motion that we accept the updated, why can't I say this word, org chart?
I'll second.
It's been a long minute. We have a second by Ms. Stevens, is there any discussion?
I'm sorry, Mr. Lynch, what was your question?
In regards to the title,
On the flow chart? Oh, on
in
the,
comparison, were they the same? Because this says system and this says PC.
no, this does say system technician, it's a green box. So is it,
No,
is
I was
it,
talking about the little blue ones after it, so I want to make sure they were the same, that's what I was.
so those blue boxes are supposed to be system technicians?
No.
So that's why the
Right,
job
the green box is
description,
the system. what I was
That's
asking.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's making sure they matched up.
Yeah, I was making sure that green box was this match.
And then that wasn't supposed
They
to
match,
fit.
Right.
they do match, and they're
then
supposed to match.
Yes, sorry.
Okay,
So as presented is exactly as it's laid out in English. and
They're-
Mr. Lynch
they match.
clarified
Yeah,
that.
that's what I was trying to say, poorly.
sorry, I just wanted to make sure.
No, it's good, I'm glad you asked.
Any other discussion on the organization chart? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, I'll go to the board. Okay. We have anything else under other? Item 11, adjournment, promotion for adjournment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.